What is up, YouTube? As you can see by the title, this is a day in the life of a Navy sailor. More like a sonar technician on a destroyer, because I'm a sonar technician on a destroyer, so I only know my experience, like what I do. But it's not your traditional day in the life, because I'm not going to be recording a bunch of random clips and throwing it in there because I'm not sure how much I could record, especially since my job is like secret for the most part. I'm gonna be looking down a bunch because I have like my notes on my laptop, but the first half of this video is going to be the day-to-day routine, like when we're in port and we're doing like our maintenance, our regular stuff, duty and all that. And the second half is going to be more when we're out to sea, like how it is out to sea, what is there to do, stuff like that. And I'm gonna have timestamps laid out to show, I guess, so you could click around and not have to sit here and watch this possible 10-15 minute video and just go to whatever part most interests you. So I'm gonna start off with my experience, because every ship is different, every job is different, so everybody will have a different experience. But my experience is I'm 1, on a destroyer, 2, stationed in Japan, so I'm forward deployed, 3, sonar technician, so security clearance, half of the stuff I do is secret. If you're on a carrier or aviation or engineering or on a different type of ship, unless it's a cruiser, because I know cruisers are pretty similar to destroyers, they're both small boys, your experience will probably be slightly different. And a lot of things will be like similar, like duty and stuff, like almost everybody stands duty, but the day-to-day life might be different, if that makes sense. In this video, everything that I say is like my own personal, I think I said that like 4 times already, but I don't plan to bash the Navy or anything. I know there's a 25K signing bonus for new recruits and all that stuff, which for some people, hey, why not do it? But this is just telling you somewhat what to expect. In port, I'm gonna start off with the schedule. So usually in port, I would say I get to the ship around like 6:45, because we have this thing called Liberty expiration, which means you have to be on the ship by 7 o'clock. If you're late, you will get in trouble most likely. So I'm usually there by like 6:45, latest 7 on a regular day when I don't have duty. And usually you have quarters, which is like a morning meeting. You have a bunch of random meetings throughout the day, depending on your position. Usually we have lunch from 11 to 12:30. So you have like an hour-and-a-half lunch. And you're probably off, depending on your job, between like 1400 all the way to 2000. There's days where you'll get off right after lunch. There's days where you'll be there and watch the sunset and continue working. What is like the actual workday like? So it really depends on your position. I was RPPO, which is the person that does all the parts. And right now I'm currently works in a soup. So they have different roles. But if you're a regular maintenance person, you're doing maintenance, tasking, sometimes painting, cleaning, all that stuff. If you're RPPO, you're doing more like parts related stuff and logistics. If you're working in a soup like I am, you're more of a leadership management level. You're still doing a lot of the tasking and maintenance and all that stuff, but you're like also scheduling stuff, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing a lot more paperwork and computer stuff, and attending a lot more meetings, because they have meetings throughout the week for different things that go on. Well, I'm going to go deeper into the maintenance person, because that's what you'll probably be when you first get to a ship. So the maintenance person, you're pretty much the grunt in a way. You're doing majority of the maintenance, majority of the preservation, majority of the cleaning, and like inspections, all that stuff is like, you're probably gonna be tasked with doing that. So when I was a maintenance person, I would say after quarters, which is like our morning thing, I would probably get like a binder or like a list, like, hey, this is what you need to do for the day. And I would go fix whatever or clean whatever, or like do like troubleshooting and stuff, because that would just be like what I have to do. And then at lunch, check in, be like, hey, this is what I did, this is what's left to do. Maybe you're done with everything, you'll just get more stuff to do. because you're pretty much like a worker bee when you're a maintenance person. The thing that kind of sucks in the day-to-day life is like when it comes to inspections and spot checks and stuff, because as the maintenance person, you're probably going to be the one cleaning all this stuff, fixing all this stuff for inspections. And when it comes to maintenance, they have spot checks every week where they have like a chief or officer come watch you do it or make sure you know what you're doing. And it's kind of stressful when you have somebody above your head questioning you and watching every single step that you're doing. So it can be kind of stressful, but honestly, at that level, it's not really a hard job. At that level, it's pretty much, I guess, do it whatever you're told and don't get caught where you're not supposed to be or not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So the last thing, actually, no, this is not the last thing. This is the second to last thing. So food, when you're in port, you're not required. Well, technically you are required to eat on the ship because they're taking the money anyways, but you don't have to. You could eat breakfast, go wherever you want for lunch, eat dinner or whatever. What I usually do is if I get there early enough and I love French toast. So if they have French toast, I'll eat breakfast. And then I'll usually try to eat lunch on the ship, but the schedule is very repetitive. It's like the same thing every week. So sometimes like I'll go out for lunch because I don't feel like eating burgers on Wednesday. And then for dinner, like I'll just cook or do whatever, but it comes out your paycheck no matter what. And they do give you 3 meals a day. The food isn't horrible, but it's very repetitive and you can get tired of it really, really quickly. So for the last thing, it is duty. So duty is pretty much, it's like a day where you're stuck on the ship for 24 hours because you are assigned to whatever. So me, I'm a advanced security person. So I'll be 24-hour security watch if anything happens. Like you have to go get like armed up, all that stuff, and take care of the threat. But outside of that, you also have regular watches, you have training, you have cleaning, and all of that is added onto your regular workday. So if you have duty during the week, usually I'll get there at like 6:30ish because usually at my ship, we do turnover at 6:45. So you have to be there before 6:45 on duty days. And if you have first watch, which is starting at 7, which technically is starting at 6:45, you have to be ready by 6:45. So yeah, on a duty day, I'll get there at around 6:45. And then I'll do my regular work day as before. And then after you get off, if you don't have watch during the regular working hours, you usually have to do training, which is like usually after dinner or something, or sometimes before dinner, and then stand whatever watch you have. Watches are usually about 5 hours, and you can have 2 watches in a day. So usually I would get a night watch. I kind of like the night watch because there's not really a lot going on, so you could kind of be more relaxed. But it kind of sucks because on a duty day, my regular schedule would be get off of work at whatever time, relax for a little bit, do training, maybe go to sleep around 6 p.m. And if I have the 10 o'clock watch, I'll wake up at like 9. That gives me like 30 minutes to get ready. And then you get off at around 2. And you could go back to sleep and you have to wake up at 6 because you have to clean and do other things before turnover. So that kind of gives you a full night's rest. If I have the other watch, which is 2 to 7, I'll still try to go to sleep around 6, latest 8 o'clock, and then wake up at like 1 and go to watch from 2. But the thing that sucks about that is when you get off a watch at 7, it's still a regular work day, so you still continue with your regular work stuff. So you're not off until whatever time you get off the next day if you have that watch, which kind of sucks. Life out to sea. This is where everything changes because your sleep schedule changes a lot. The food, it starts to change at some point depending on how long you're out. Your work schedule is about the same, but you have watch every day, but your watch is whatever your job is. So it's not necessarily as bad, but your workday goes from possibly like 7 a.m. to like 2 to like 3 or 4, to having to pretty much work a minimum of probably 12 to 16 hours. So that's a longer work day. And then with that, if you want to get 8 hours of sleep, that leaves like maybe a couple hours of free time, which usually goes into like training or getting signatures or the gym, but it doesn't really leave a lot of free time. So first, I'm going to go over, I guess, the sleep schedule. So when I, well, last underway, I had the midday watch, which was pretty much like, we woke up, we still had quarters and everything, so we woke up at 7 a.m., had like our morning quarters. Our work day was from 8 to 12. I had watch from 12 to 4, got off from like 4 to 9, I think, or 4 to 8, and had another 4 hours from 8 to midnight, and then from midnight to 7 was pretty much my sleep time, and the time between the two watches was like my time off. So from 4 to like 8, that 4 hours was like my time off to do whatever I needed to get done. So you are guaranteed, I guess, 8 hours of sleep at the end of the day. But what sucks is when you, damn, I keep scratching my nose. All right, so what sucks is when you have things like GQ, or they have more watches that needs to be manned up at certain times, and then now your watches go from 8 hours to 12 hours. So you're either doing 12 on, 12 off, and doing your work stuff between then, or you're doing 6 on, 6 off, 6 on. So it's like you're never getting a full 8 hours of sleep, which kind of sucks. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's manageable. But I personally, every chance I get, I try to sleep, because half the time underway, I'm seasick. And my first underway, I was so seasick that I laid on the ground, like, it was bad. I was on the ground for maybe like 2 hours, got up, vomited so bad that the people next door came over and they're like, "Are you guys good?" Because they heard me screaming while vomiting. It was horrible. So I'm usually like on seasick pills, which makes you really drowsy. So I'm drowsy half the time, and I also drink a lot more caffeine. So yeah, the caffeine crash. So yeah, the food when you're out to sea, it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is always pack snacks, because last time we were out, we weren't necessarily supposed to be out for that long. So we started running out of fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff. So it kind of went from, okay, this is normal, to like eating the frozen stuff and like the kind of like, I guess, emergency, like not necessarily like the best meals. And last year I actually discovered our ship had MREs on them, because we had a training thing and they had to simulate all this stuff, and we had MREs. So if it gets that bad, there are MREs, but you can't really order food or go out to eat after work. So it's like whatever they have, they have. So it really kind of sucks, depending on how long you're out and how often you resupply and stuff. Which leads me to the third thing. On certain days, they have refueling, resupplies, ship evolutions. So within that schedule you have, where you have that set sleep time, there might be something going on. Like, we have refuelings that are sometimes in the morning, and that's not during my watch time, and it could go into my sleep time depending on how early it is. And if you're on the watch boat to do that, then you have to go do that. Or if they have certain, I guess, training events. Like I remember one time, this was my first underway, it was like 3 in the morning. They had this like simulated general quarters emergency thing, and I had to like get up, run all the way across the ship, go to like where I was supposed to be, and it was like maybe like 2 hours long. But that was at 3 in the morning, so I lost 2 hours of sleep doing that, and then you still have to do your regular work stuff. So it just kind of sucks sometimes. But I will say one cool thing about the schedule is, like, since you're there, 24/7. If you have certain things that you have to do, it's always better to do it like when you can, but there's ways around it. Like if you're really tired because you had something going on or there was a drill or whatever and you need to sleep, you could take a nap. You just have to remember that during your free time or at another point of the day, whatever you had to get done needs to get done. And usually the timelines are a little bit shifted when we're out because it's like we're not going home at the end of the day, so there's no rush to do certain things at the beginning of the week or to cram everything into like this like 3-hour period. It's like we're gonna be here all day anyways. So you could kind of maneuver your schedule in a way to like have days where you have less things to do and a little bit more free time, and then have days where you kind of try to do everything that you have for the week in one day, so that way you could like nap, gym, whatever the rest of the day. And the last topic is more like, I guess, my personal experience as being a sonar tech. So what a sonar tech is, you're pretty much like an acoustic analysis. Like I stare at lines all day and figure out what they are, like different like sounds and frequencies. But I guess the lifestyle that we have probably the most spaces on the ship. So everybody has like I bring a bunch of food when we go out because we have places to put it. Sometimes I'll work out in one of our spaces because it's quieter, or like you have your own area that you're not gonna be bothered. We also have like gaming setup and TVs and stuff in some of our spaces because we just have the space for it. So I would say the lifestyle is pretty chill, and when we're in port, we mainly do maintenance and all that stuff and training, and then that's our work day. When we're out to sea, we have the watches where we're pretty much staring at a screen and doing acoustic analysis and stuff like that, and then we have maintenance. That's pretty much the work schedule underway. I know there are some jobs that have way more relaxed schedules underway, but honestly ours is like, it's not horrible because we're not stuck in our like watch thing. Like you could like get up and go pee, go get food. You could do certain things because there's like multiple of us doing the same thing, but it does take a lot of time every day, and it is kind of boring to stare at a screen all day and just look at a bunch of lines and be like, oh, that's a whale. Oh, that's like a boat. Like it's kind of boring, but I can't really go into detail of what I do. So that's the most that I can say. It's boring depending on the person. Some people like analyzing data and stuff, but it does get boring, especially when there's nothing really going on. Like we're cruising or we're like transiting to go certain places. There's not really much going on, so we're kind of just like sitting there bored. But we do have random conversations, joke around with each other. I mean, since we have secret access to stuff, sometimes we'll just go on like the secret computer and look random stuff up. So there are ways to make it interesting, or at least make being stuck down there tolerable, but overall it's kind of boring. I don't want to end this video on like a bad note, so I'm going to say, well, 3 bad things and then 3 good things about the ship life, I guess. So the bad things would be schedule, especially being out here for deployed in 7th Fleet. Our schedule is garbage. It changes like every day somehow. I don't even understand how the schedule changes so much, especially when we're out. Our schedule changes so much. Like you'll wake up and be like, hey, we're doing this, and like an hour later, completely different thing. And it's like, how did our schedule change? 2, the workload. I guess this is more depending on like your position, but the workload can be overwhelming and very time critical. So that's a con that I would say I have. And 3, I would say some of the stuff we do is kind of mind numbing. Like it's really boring, and it feels like, me personally, it feels like I'm sitting here like wasting my life because I'm just like, yo. And being out to sea, doing the same things every day, like same exact schedule, like it starts to feel like robotic in some way. 3 good things about, I guess, the ship life. So the first one, I would say ports. COVID really screwed us up, and to be honest, I've only got like 1 legit port, and it was Guam, but we turned up in Guam. Like Guam was lit, and now they're bringing back a lot of ports. So I think, well, being stationed out here, I've heard like Korea, Philippines, New Zealand, like all these places kind of thrown out there. So you do have that to look forward to when you're out. The second thing, I would say the team environment. Being out to sea with a group of people for months at a time, you're kind of forced to, like, they kind of become your family, where it's like you talk about everything because they're the only people there to talk. They're your support system. You're experiencing all the stuff together. So it's kind of like your team becomes your family. And the third thing I would say, being on a ship, it kind of allows you to save. Like when you pull in, some people blow all their money, but when you're out for like a month, even if you blow money at the end of that month, you didn't spend your mid-month pay, so that's just like money for your savings. And when you're out for longer than that, which really sucks, at least you know, hey, I'm not spending money. So I would say that's like the third thing if you are a person that is trying to save. All right, so that's the day in the life video. Leave some comments below if you have more questions or if there's things I didn't cover or it was kind of confusing. Like, because likes are free and they don't take time, you just click that button. So I do read my comments and I make videos. Like this video was actually a comment that I was already thinking about doing. The comment was like, hey, why not do this? And I was like, all right, bet. So